All right, we'll go ahead and begin. I'd like to start off for a second with some opening remarks. So I want to extend on a personal level my condolences to everyone affected by the tragic and catastrophic events. Again, personally, my brother and his family lost 2 friends in the floods. So on a genuine, sincere level, I extend my deepest condolences to everyone. All right, so before I pass it off to our esteemed panelists, I'll very briefly introduce myself and describe what my office does. So my name is RJ Hakes, and I'm the Tourism and Loan Programs Administrator for the Office of Governor Greg Abbott. What that means is that I have the honor and the privilege to be a leader in what I consider to be the greatest economic development enterprise in the world. Texas is routinely recognized as the best place to do business, and the Office of the Governor works tirelessly to maintain our standing atop that perch. We know that access to capital is critical to small business creation, growth, and flourishing. And we recognize that for many, that can be a challenge under normal circumstances. So we administer a program called the Texas Small Business Credit Initiative, which leverages significant financial allocations from the U.S. Department of the Treasury to provide incentives to financial institutions to help them expand lending opportunities to eligible small businesses. But as I noted, access to capital can be challenging during normal circumstances, and we all know too well that the aftermaths of declared disasters are not normal circumstances. So in their wisdom, our Texas legislature tasked us to administer another program to help participating community development financial institutions, or CDFIs, to support eligible Texas micro businesses affected by declared disasters. Although our programs are not directly offered to the small and micro businesses themselves, we do highly encourage you to visit our lead financial analyst in the back, Shannon Benavides, to learn more about our programs and receive an informative flyer with eligibility criteria and lists of all of our participating financial institutions, so you can contact them. Well, without further ado, we are so honored that 3 of our participating lenders have generously donated their time to come to Kerrville on short notice and participate in this very important panel and discuss lending opportunities with you all. So to begin, would each of you please briefly introduce yourselves, your roles, and explain a little bit about the organizations that you represent and the types of lending you specialize in.
Peace be with you. I'm Gustavo Lasala, President and CEO of PeopleFund. PeopleFund is a CDFI, Community Development Financial Institution, certified by the U.S. Treasury, and we are also an SBA lender. We partner with banks, we partner with community development organizations, we partner with the Office of the Governor in the Texas SBCI program and MBDR program to offer small businesses loan capital and some grants, and loan capital at concessionary rates.
Thank you. Hi, I'm Eric Donnelly. I'm the CEO of Capital Plus. We are based in Dallas, but we do work all over the state. We're also a CDFI and a B corporation. We started in 1992, primarily focused on affordable housing and mortgage financing, and have done some small business lending throughout the state as well.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name's Adrian Gonzales, and a lot of you in here know me as Adrian because you can't pronounce Adrian, and I'm fine with that. But LiftFund is also a CDFI. We've been in existence since 1994. While we're headquartered in San Antonio, we are licensed to do business across all 50 states. We are a small business lender. We also participate in various SBA programs from microloans to 7A loans to 504 loans. And we have gotten involved in disaster response for small businesses since Katrina. So.
All right, thank you guys. I know that many in the audience may be not, or at least less familiar with what CDFIs are and how they differ from traditional banks or credit unions. So if you guys could each in your own words sort of share what you see the niche of a CDFI is and how that differs from traditional lending institutions.
I'll go ahead and start on that one. Our mission is to help small businesses that are not able to access capital through the normal channels. Startups, some industries, banks don't like them, banks don't like startups. Businesses that have maybe struggled a little bit and are not bankable for a certain period of time. That's our niche, to help those businesses access capital. The ultimate goal that we have is to help these businesses become bankable. So they're not depending on our products, but can walk into a bank at some point. So we offer a lot of technical assistance to small businesses, hand-holding, some things is helping you with a business plan. How do you balance a checking account? Yes, we have small business owners who don't know how to balance a checking account. And we have people with dreams and to start a business that not quite sure how to go about it, and we help provide guidance.
So I'm a reformed banker by trade. I got out of the banking business a long time ago. And part of the reason I got out of it is because we're not very nimble and we're not very creative. And CDFIs are. And it really allowed me and our organization to be able to serve that to our customers. And I'll just give you a weird bank example. If you get a mortgage and you have no credit score, you're told to go out and get a charge card and come back in 6 months when you have a credit score. And I had that kind of default brain, and I said, oh, well, that makes a lot of sense, but wait a second. Our applicants are 40 years old and have never had credit. What does that mean? It means they've lived within their means. Who better to extend credit to people like that? And so that's a folksy example of the kind of work that CDFIs are able to do, because we get to create the nimble box that we operate in.
Adding to that, CDFIs are not just about businesses. So there are CDFIs that are focusing housing. This panel is about business. PeopleFund supports businesses, small businesses and not so small. Our loans go from everywhere from $3,000 to $2 million. We do have 504 loans. I think LiftFund does too. And great. Plains Capital, no. Capital Plains, sorry.
Okay.
And then we also provide new market tax credits, those through the U.S. Treasury. Those are to sponsor larger projects in areas that need jobs and revitalization. So, and those type of projects are much larger. To give you a sense, because PeopleFund is a nonprofit, right? And you think, okay, well, the nonprofits are small. We have been around since 1994, and we have recently crossed $1.2 billion invested in the Texas economy.
Yeah,
sure.
I wanted you to speak.
60% of that impact in the last 5 years. So nonprofits can do a lot of support in areas of need. The challenge that we have is awareness, build awareness. And we ask banks with which we partner very closely to tell you, business owners, that we are available. Banks are very important partners of you and CDFIs. They get credits for working with us. They get CRA credits for working with us. So if you go to your banker and your banker cannot help, instead of saying no, they can call any of us. And we can partner with them, or we can do what the banks cannot.
Yeah, so that's a perfect segue to the next question. So I presume a lot of these small businesses already have banks that they're working with, and potentially in such catastrophic circumstances, they may no longer have the collateral to qualify for their loans and stuff. Can their banks work with you, or how can they go about bridging that gap between the financing they need and getting started?
So as Gustavo noted, we work with banks. We are a non-depository financial institution. We don't have checking accounts, savings accounts, et cetera. So we don't have that capital to lend out like the banks do. So in working with the banks are our partner, not only in referring the businesses to us, but a lot of banks provide lines of credit to us, grants and donations to us, other support to all CDFIs, so that we have the capital also to lend out to the small businesses and entities that need it. So, the banks are a key role in helping us help you. The ultimate goal is to be able to help you so that you are bankable. The banking community is extremely aware of the struggles of small businesses. And like my partner here, I was in banking for 30 plus years, and this has been 14 years in this industry for me. And I will tell you that being a reformed banker, the support we get from the banks is critical to our success and to the success of the businesses that we are helping.
I mean, I not a lot to add to that. That was great. I think to your question, how do we work together? I mean, we've done creative things like provided a credit enhancement to a deal where the bank's kind of struggling to get the deal over the line, and we say, okay, well, we'll guarantee this percentage of it. Just creative things that rigid financial institutions generally can't do, CDFIs do.
You know, one of the other ways that we work, and I'm sure Gustavo and sometimes a bank will be willing to make a loan, and they can't fund the entire amount that the small business needs. So there are times when we come in behind a bank, take an inferior position on collateral, and complete the capital that the small business needs in conjunction with the bank. So we work tandemly many times with our financial institutions.
Detail to all of that. But the first place that you go is to talk with a banker. The banker may say no or almost there, right? So ask them to connect with CDFIs, right? I would ask you to stop by any of our tables there and take the card of our loan officers and take it with you to the bank, right? And then if the bank needs a credit enhancement, right, we are happy to provide. I can think of a couple of deals that we did recently in which the bank provided the first $1 million, $2 million, right? And we provided in a second position, we provided the rest of the financing needed to close the deal. And that's how we make it happen.
Yeah, that's great. So I want to point out before I move on to another question, I think it's a tremendous commitment on their behalf for these C-suite officials to show up to this. And I also think it's a tremendous opportunity for businesses in need. I would love to have max participation in the programs that I manage, but my programs are tools. They're there to facilitate the expansion of capital access to borrowers across the state. So if our programs are needed and they're actively used, every one of these gentlemen are participants in our programs, both of them. So if our programs can help facilitate that funding, great. They also have other options that they may be able to fund your needs without tapping into us. And they're also, SBA lenders. Our program is complementary to the SBA in that it is less restrictive and provides a higher guarantee to the lender. So through all of these different options, we really want to expand that capital access to you guys. So in such a circumstance, please take advantage of talking to them if you have financial needs. So can you guys describe other services that you have available besides loans?
Yes, some are just spring up out of, so as we're sitting here, I'm reminded in 2017, I woke up with half of our loan portfolio underwater in Houston during Harvey. And my immediate reaction was, okay, we're going to defer all payments and we're going to, step in and do that. And I was quickly told that that's not really what our borrowers needed. The borrowers needed to understand how to make an insurance claim, what FEMA was, how to navigate that. And so we ended up putting people on the phone holding hands with insurance companies because, probably the three of us take for granted that process. But it's hard. If you've never borrowed money, if it's a first-time home buyer, it's all of this stuff is really intimidating. And so I think what sets mission-driven lenders apart is we are willing to, I can assure you nobody in my office had ever thought about sitting on a FEMA call for 50 minutes at a time, but that's what happens. And that's kind of, to keep saying nimbleness, but that's just how we all react to things in addition to providing financial products.
One of the nimbleness is important. We're here specifically because of the disaster response that we can provide to small businesses. And this is something that we woke up to one morning in 2009 after Katrina. You know, how are we going to help these small businesses? And we learned that there was a real need to get capital into the hands of small businesses impacted by disasters. I think the statistics show that 40% of businesses that are impacted by a disaster, if they don't get capital very quickly, the chances are that for them to survive is next to nothing. So we've come up over the years with products and a disaster response product. This is something not our main line of business, but we're prepared to do it. So, we quickly mobilize Katrina, Harvey, Ike, Beryl, the Los Angeles wildfires, and now we're here with you, our neighbors. We quickly mobilized to make sure and get capital into the small business hands through grants. And we also come up with a disaster loan program to where we can get low-cost capital into the small business hands so they can work through the different phases of recovering from these disasters. So the nimbleness helps us come up with these products.
I would add, for example, that loans from CFIs, loans from the SBA may take time, but are sources of funds that you can trust, right? Speed comes at a price, and many people go online and try to get a loan online, and then they get caught into a high interest rate loan from which it's very difficult to get out. Our loan product, we recognize that is a loan, right? And someone was saying earlier today that, hey, I don't want a loan. I mean, I want to rebuild my business. So on that, we are providing 6 months, no interest, no payments, and no fees actually, and recognizing that there's a need immediate for you to start rebuild the business. If you repay that loan within 6 months, it's free money for you. So that's one of the things we do. There are people that are providing grants. That's good, but you cannot do much with $10,000, right? So when you get down to it, right, that $10,000 can actually be the equity injection that you need for a $100,000 loan. And now we are start talking about how to rebuild the business. And then, sure, I represent PeopleFund, but I'm not shy in saying that the best money available is the SBA right now. So I would suggest that everyone go to the SBA, fill the application like they were suggesting, get informed about their programs, right? And if for any reason you don't qualify or need some other assistance, then the Chambers of Commerce, I think LiftFund, and the USDA are providing grants that also complement something, and we can also work with you and with your banks to provide additional capital as needed. I don't know if that's, there we go.
That's fantastic.
We should plug your program too, RJ.
Yeah. I will say that TSBCI is also as good as SBA. Just throwing it out there.
Yes.
Visit Shannon. Some might say superior. I don't know. Just kidding. What advice do you guys have for the audience about how to secure funding? What can you share with them?
As difficult as this is to say, I'm going to say, please have patience, okay? The process it's a process. We know, especially sitting here in the community for the last 6-7 weeks that I have been in the community, we understand the pain, the losses, not only financial and material, but the loss of loved ones. And you don't want to have to sit and go through another process with us. But there is a process that we've got to go through. We want to help, and we will try to get through the process as quickly as possible. But I forget, someone mentioned a little bit earlier, there's a lot of bad actors out here. And I can tell you, of all the applications we have received for grants, over 300 applications for grants in the last 6 weeks, 14 to 15% of them are fraudulent applications. So if you're getting fed up with us because we're asking you questions and for more documentation, we're trying to be good stewards of the money that we have been fortunate enough to be, recipients of, to make sure the money's getting into the right hands, and that we can impact as many small businesses as possible.
I mean, I would add that I'll speak for all of us, I think. None of us are really selfish. If he does something better than we do, or he does, and so I think that's the part that you'll see with our kind of lenders, is that we are in the business of taking care of people, whether we can do it, SBA can do it, anybody can do it. So I think it's tapping into that resource.
Yeah, we're not shy in referring to our fellow CDFIs when we can't do something.
Go ahead.
He said something, and it made me feel guilty. Actually, the loan that we are providing, this 6-month no interest on payment, is done thanks to support from MBDR.
You're welcome. Now, can you guys, because of the frankly catastrophic events that happen, many people are wiped out across Central Texas. How do you as lenders, and speaking on behalf of other lenders too, just in general, how do you guys look at risk as a capital provider? How do you take into account some of the tremendous losses that people may face, and that these might be, in many cases, riskier loans than they would otherwise be under normal circumstances?
We take the opportunity to look at the applicants prior to the flood, what their operations look like. Prior to the flood, were they in a position where they could afford to make the payments again, credit-wise, cash flow-wise, et cetera. So we will look at it in a little bit, more aggressive way and say, how were they performing prior to this event? And we will base our decisions on that if we can, if it makes sense. Again, to my point of, we're not using our money. This is not my money. This is money that other organizations are entrusting us with. And we need to make sure that we're taking care of their money while we're filling this need. So yes, we will look at it and underwrite it and ask some more questions. But being a CDFI, and we all can say this here, we're not constrained by the regulatory environment that the banks are constrained by. We don't have someone looking over our shoulder all the time. We can look outside the box, and we can be a little bit more flexible and a little bit more aggressive sometimes.
I would add that summarizing that, we are not a bank. So we look at things very, very different from a traditional financial institution, and we do things that they don't. We also have specific programs. Each of us has specific programs. In our case, we do have specific programs for veterans. On that, veterans receive a flat fee, concessionary fee, concessionary interest rate with no fees, and again, loans up to $300,000, $450,000. Then we have special programs that combine the loan with technical assistance or business coaching for those that need it, right? So there are a lot of ways in which we support the business, not just giving the capital, right? Because think about, not always things go as planned. So when that happens, right, our first call is not a collector. Our first call is, how can we help?
Yeah, that's wonderful. I'm going to take a risk. Jarvis might get mad at me. I'd like to give you guys an opportunity for some closing remarks if you have any. And then I think, because the question and answer session in the last panel was so compressed, I'd like to extend it a little bit, just in case there's a lot of questions that these guys can help with. So if you guys have anything to close out with, we'll follow up the questions.
As I mentioned a little while ago, I've been here in your community now since July the 7th, in person, and my staff have been here. We have gotten to get to know a lot of you all. We've heard the stories. we're here to help you. And we're here for the long term.
Made me cry. I mean, I can't, I'm just in awe. So I'm humbled to be here. Thank you.
But we can help.
All right. With that, I'd like to open up for questions.
Actually, it's just a statement. Honestly, it's just a statement. We did apply for the LiftFund and we received the grant. Thank you. It was a great process. Honestly, I have to say, my mom and 8 others survived on a roof. So I am like chief fundraiser for my mom on top of business stuff. And everyone we have dealt with has been humble and kind and thoughtful and truly feels like everybody is for us. So thank you for that. I did want to say this just because I was confused about it with the LiftFund grant. If you receive the LiftFund grant, one of the questions they ask you is, or they tell you is, hey, if you take this money, you can't apply for the loan, correct? Okay, and I am and because that loan kind of comes from the SBA, but it doesn't, I thought we couldn't apply for the other one. And so if you would clarify that for someone who thinks, hey, I took that grant, can I still apply for money?
Yes. So the answer to that question is, again, I'm going to go back to my comment about it's not our money. We are stewards of other people's money. The people who help us out with the funding, they obviously want to impact as many small businesses as possible. So for LiftFund in particular, if you get the grant, you are no longer eligible for our 0% loan. But you are still eligible to come in and apply for a loan at 5%, our 5% disaster loan. Okay, so yes, you can still do that with us. We've actually had some of you, and I don't know if anyone's in here right now, we've had people actually return the grant money to us because they wanted the 0% loan, which we gladly have accommodated them.
While we're looking for people to ask questions, I think it's important to also note that, look, my programs are tools, their offerings are tools, and you guys are customers. If you receive something from one organization and you still have needs, explore others. Go to the back, look at all of our participating lenders, shop around, contact other institutions, see what they have. You guys are in need, and there's no rule that says you have to stick with one thing and one thing only. The Texas Microbusiness Disaster Recovery Loan Program provides 0 interest loans to the lenders so that they have lower risk and more capital to make loans, right? So we're all about expanding access for all of you. So please feel free to shop around, explore. I don't know if you can get 10 grants, but I certainly advocate for you guys getting 10 grants. I want you to fully recover and thrive. I want Kerrville to sit atop of the economic development of Texas, So please, look around, talk to people, take advantage of the gentlemen that are here, do everything in your power to get whatever you need for help. So.
RJ makes a great point. We have multiple tools in our tool bag. All of us do. So the funds I use for the grant program and for our 0% loan program right now, I have other sources of funding that I could, to see if I can qualify you for something else. We all do. We all participate in the state's programs and SBA programs, and then we have private funders that come up and say, hey, we want to help you do something over there. Let's design a program, for what we want to do, for the impact that we want to have. So we have multiple tools.
Hi, I'm Sherry Shine, and I have my own business, a tea cottage in Ingram, that was not affected by the flood, other than having to close for a month. My husband's business went downriver. His was run out of our barn. But my question is, if he needs a loan, and if I wanted to also expand my business, is that possible? I know for him, it would be possible to go get a loan, but what about those of us who are also in the area, but not necessarily losing our business or part of our business because of the flood? Can we still apply?
I'll jump in from the state perspective really quickly and then pass along to them. So the reason that I brought flyers in the back for both of our programs, Texas Small Business Credit Initiative and Micro Business Disaster Recovery Program, is TSBCI offers a loan guarantee program and a capital access program. Both of those, again, receive substantial federal funding allocated to the state as state funds that we use to incentivize lenders to make loans to businesses that might be on the periphery of their normal underwriting. Now, they're certainly eligible to take that funding and use it for loans they would have made otherwise. I don't want them to tell me that, but the real goal is to expand capital access. So we have, I think, about 20 lenders listed on the flyer in the back under the TSBCI program. All of those are actively enrolling loans with us, and they're actively broadening that umbrella to help businesses like you. And there's no requirement that they're impacted by any sort of disaster. You need to be a business that's got 500 or fewer employees, which I bet yours does. So there's very few restrictions on it, and it's sort of like the SBA offerings, but different. It comes from a different federal funding source. So a lot of the things that kind of hang up some businesses when they're trying to get those SBA-backed loans are not issues for our program. So again, I encourage people to explore SBA offerings, explore our offerings, explore things that don't even require our assistance. But there's 20 lenders listed on that paper in the back that I certainly suggest that you start reaching out to and shopping around. And then for the micro, for your husband's business, the Micro Business Disaster Recovery Program is specifically for people who are directly impacted by declared disasters. And I should say, although it's not relevant to this, you may pass on your experience in the future. There's disasters that are locally designated, state designated, or federally designated. All of those disasters, no matter what they are, count for the program. So I encourage you guys to explore the options we have in the back. But
no, the answer is yes and yes. For us, without any doubts, your husband's business that was directly impacted. But earlier today, I was talking with actually it was a nonprofit that they have been indirectly impacted because they cannot be asking for money when people are rebuilding homes, right? So they have indirectly been impacted. So who's going to say no to that, right?
Yeah.
Hi, I'm here actually at local churches as a case manager for advocate for people in general who've been affected. I guess I'm a little disillusioned by what I thought this fair was, and I'm hearing a lot about loans, which I appreciate y'all being here and giving what you can about loans, but to be honest, I'm a little disheartened that there's been nothing about how we can get grants and money into the hands of people who are affected hundreds of thousands of dollars. And just hearing that you take away 0% loans if you take the Lyft $10,000, when these businesses have lost hundreds of $1,000s. So they would have to give you back the $10,000 to get a 0% loan is very heartbreaking.
I'm trying to figure out from a case management side how I help a small business coming through our program in a way that doesn't put them in debt for 30 years. So if somebody can answer that question, I think that's what everybody in this room really cares about.
That is a question and comment that we get a lot, and there is no good answer to that question. The three of us up here, again, we depend on partnerships with philanthropists, other organizations, even the financial institutions that we partner with. We depend on them to help us provide the funding so that we can be the intermediary, the conduit to get this money out to you all. And sometimes, while we understand the need and no, I don't want more debt right now because I can't afford it, it just doesn't make sense. But sometimes our partners say, you know, we want to make sure you're using this money correctly, and we want to make sure you're helping the small businesses, but they also want to see that that money gets returned some way, shape, or form. And no, it's not what you wanted to hear. I don't have a good answer for that. We try to get money, the small grants, into your hands as quickly as possible, and we try to get low-cost capital into your hands. The rates that we're offering on our disaster loans, yes, it's a payment, and it may be a 5 to 20-year commitment, but I believe all of us here are willing to offer below market rate loans, 0%, 7%, 5%. It's still a loan, it still has to be repaid, but we're making concessions to bring down the cost to the small businesses as much as possible.
I would add that we have here in this conference the Chambers of Commerce that are providing grants, and you can apply there. You can apply with the USDA. PeopleFund has a different program that has a grant associated with it, which is 10%, but that's sure. That's in addition to the loan. But again, as Adrian was describing, our core business is about providing concessionary terms, right? Loan capital, and very flexible when other financial institutions cannot. But again, I would highlight the availability of grants from the chambers and the USDA. And of course, the very flexible capital that the SBA is providing for disaster, and then we come behind that, right, to partner with banks and do what other institutions cannot do.
And I'll just say from my own perspective, as an administrator at the Office of the Governor, we have the tools that are granted to us by the Texas legislature. And we do everything in our power to make those available, to make ourselves rapidly responsive. But we are only granted what we have. So I certainly, in a representative democracy, I certainly encourage everyone to, reach out to their legislator, try to discuss some of these extremely valid and necessary concerns that you have. And through that sort of bottom-up social change, there's a potential that a bill could be passed that then gets allocated to the state. And next time I come up here, I might be able to have something like that. But under the current circumstances, I can advertise the offerings that we have, but I certainly do appreciate your viewpoint wholeheartedly on a personal level. So,
and let me add one more thing. We as an industry, the CDFIs, we are always advocating and talking to policymakers, lobbyists, however we can, or wherever we can, to find creative programs or suggest creative programs to where we can come up with some type of maybe forgivable debt program or something we're always out there, we as an industry, we're always out there advocating to how can we help small businesses, especially small businesses in need. They turned it off on you, Jarvis.
Maybe I'm the one who's broken. So thank you so much for asking that question. It's obvious that many people here have that same exact concern. I think in the last panel we mentioned how, or someone made the comment how no one wants to incur debt when the future is so uncertain. I mean, just doing that right now in this period seems like, why? I'm going backwards before I go forward. So I'm absolutely thrilled to hear this concern from everyone. I have my boss here. And while we can't make the promises that a grant program will be created, I can make the promise. I'll take this concern back to the office of the governor. So thank you so much. She heard this, and we're going to have some discussions. But as RJ just mentioned, we are kind of confined with state government and the laws that exist. But as a small business advocate, I assure you, I will advocate on your behalf. Thank you.
I just want to say that probably a lot of people here, like us, have heard that there's just hundreds and millions of dollars that are coming for our help. And it's hard for a little bitty business like us to incur the debt, to think that the next 20, 30 years that we should be having a little bit of an easier time, that we can't. And I know you guys, the Texas community, the world is wanting to help. And I want to just take this moment to say thank you to people who are really giving help. Not that you guys aren't, but the churches, the people who have given are really helping little bitty people like us. They have made such a difference in that outreach and generosity has really made a difference. And I hope that the funds that you guys are being given can find a way also to help us, because we really do need it. Thank you.
I apologize.
Okay, so there was a tool that helped small businesses during COVID, and it was called a PPE loan. And it saved us. It is what kept us afloat, no pun intended. And if the government can figure out how to give the whole of the United States a PPE loan and still survive, my gut says that Governor Abbott has to be able to find a way to give us a PPE loan that allows us to keep our employees employed. We're not asking for a handout. We're asking to help us keep our head above water as we make it through. None of us are trying to take money. That's not in our nature. We're here to make money, right? And to make this town great again. But we need something like the PPE loan that allows us to do that, that allows us as a business to reinvest in our community, to reinvest in our staff, to reinvest in our tools, and all of those things. And I have to believe that you have the right people here to hear that loud and clear, that is the tool. We already have it. Somebody created it somewhere. I don't know where the mechanism is, but somebody already has a format for this that can help us. And we're just a little county here. We are not that big of a thing. And so please take that back and find that for us, because that's what we need.
I can say that, as Jarvis said earlier, we will certainly take these concerns back. We have Adriana Cruz, who's the governor's right-hand woman. And I appreciate you guys being open and sharing these with us. So thank you guys for your time.
One more thing before Adriana closes us out for the formal part of the event. We do have another hour of the resource fair that is about to happen. However, I do want to mention that this was a CDFI panel. There are a ton of organizations outside of loans. You mentioned as far as unemployment. So we have the Workforce Solutions Alamo, as well as Texas Workforce Commission here. They have a disaster unemployment program for assistance towards your staff during a disaster like that. So there's a lot of organizations here that have programs outside of just a strictly a loan or a financial program that can assist you through this disaster. So I'll turn it back over to Adriana.
Thank you, Jarvis, and thank you to our panelists. As RJ stated, the tools that the state has are given to us by the legislature, and we implement those tools in the way that they have set it up. And so it may not be the best and most helpful for a situation like this, but that is how these programs have been set up to work. But as RJ said, we will certainly take this information back. That is part of this process, is we're here to give y'all information, but we also need to hear from you all, right, on what works and what doesn't. So thank you for that. And you mentioned all of you have given up 4 hours of your day of managing and overseeing your businesses to be here with us today. And we appreciate that very, very, very much. We wanted to come to y'all. We wanted to bring state agencies, federal agencies, resource providers to you that can help in this time of great need. So thank you for all of your feedback. Thank you for being here with us. I do want to thank our resource providers, the Workforce Commission, the Kerr Economic Development Corporation, the City of Kerrville, the Kerrville Convention and Visitors Bureau, the Kerrville Area Chamber of Commerce, and our venue, Inn of the Hills. Thank you to the small business team for putting this event together. And as you leave, thank you all, and be sure to visit with the resource providers on your way out. So thank you.